See, is there also something that we can learn from what is happening in Europe? Because Africa too is not, protected from the effect of climate change. But the basic point is, as the point made by the UN Chief of Human Rights and the UN Secretary General, that climate action is important. And having a healthy, clean, sustainable environment is critical to the survival of the human race.
Well, thank you all for your submissions. Let's move on to newspaper headlines across the globe. We begin in Nigeria with This Day. This Day does report that Peter Obi has hinted at a possible run in the 2027 presidential elections as he pledges to stabilize the country as part of his national rebirth agenda. Obi did not shed any light on the prospect of a joint ticket with Atiku.
Put on the spotlight.
This Day also reports that the 100th National Executive Committee meeting of the People Democratic Party has reinstated Senator Samuel Ayamu as the party's national secretary. And it's that story which has dominated headlines across today's papers across Nigeria. And those papers include The Punch, the Daily Trust and the Daily Sun, which both lead Onikepo Braithwaite, takes a look at the ending of this 19-year-old case, which in her article, which is titled The Injustice of the Gwandu Emirate case, which refers to the Supreme Court nullifying a Kebbi State High Court judgment reinstating Al-Mustafa Jokolo as the 19th Emir of Gwandu in Kebbi State. Now, the New Telegraph reports that the Ondo State government says a probe into the death of former Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu will soon be opened, with his corpse likely to be inspected and his wife, Betty Ayamu Akeredolu, quizzed. Now, Akeredolu died on the 27th of December 2023 after undergoing leukemia at the start of that year. It is also worth noting that relations between his widow and the current state government in Ondo have deteriorated following the demolition of the Owo Memorial Park last month. Very quickly to UK papers, and the Daily Express is reporting that the BBC boss Tim Davie is under fire to act now or resign, and that's after a UK punk band, Bob Vinnan, called for death to Israeli troops during their Glastonbury Festival performance. Now, chants of Free Palestine and death to the IDF were condemned by British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, who said that the BBC had questions to answer over its live broadcast of the group's performance over on Saturday.
That was distasteful by Bob Dylan. You can say free Palestine, but I don't believe in death to other people, because if you're fighting for freedom and you're wishing death on other people, then it's very, very bad. As regards the BBC broadcasting it, I mean, there was a lot that went into it. It was a live broadcast. And could they have responded on time? Could they have caught it? I mean, that's BBC's problem. So BBC has been on a knife edge for a while. But please, I'd like to beg the Ondo State government, let Akeredolu rest in peace. Please. Leave his wife out of it. His wife has a right to be able to criticize and not, completely agree with the government. So I see this as a vindictive measure because his wife has been a forthright force and it doesn't look fair on the surface. And she had a right when she campaigned and advocated, that memorial should not just be destroyed like that. The truth has to be said. Even if the king did not want the memorial there, they could have made arrangements, started building another memorial before they destroyed the one that was there. So let's call it spade a spade and let's stop all of this, please. Let Akeredolu rest in peace.
I echo that. I think this is distasteful. Just the other day, we were talking about Hakainde Hichilema, president of Zambia, and the issue of Edgar Lungu, and we were saying some of these rivalries and animosities, you cannot carry them on after somebody has transitioned. Let it be. We know that he was in ill health. We know that he battled, with illness for a very long time before he passed away. So what are we trying to investigate exactly? We have to remember that beyond him being a public figure, he's also a father, a husband, a relative to so many people. No need to re-traumatize that family. Let's just, I plead with the Ondo State government to let this one go.
Well, while I identify with the sentiments that have been expressed, the memorial, yes, very important, because that shocking incident really, cast in another light, the problem of banditry and terrorism in parts of the country. But we are told that some buildings in that location were demolished, and the families that own the properties that were destroyed, they've been fighting too since then. The palace is also saying You cannot have a cemetery next, very close to the palace for cultural and religious reasons. What is important is that in leadership, the state government, Ondo state government, has a responsibility to carry all stakeholders along and not, to make anybody feel left out. That, I think, is the issue.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much for this. Have a beautiful day. All right. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Lotus Odiri to give us updates on global business activities. Do stay with us.
Mealtime is game on. Meet my Sure Bet Game Changer, made from natural ingredients to deliver game-changing chicken aroma and taste for my whole team.
Mom, why did we not use this before?
Upgrade your chicken game with game-changing chicken flavor from Maggi Chicken.
A president writing to lower rates?
Some really cool charts there, just run through them very quickly. They essentially should look at when we refine all our viewers out there. It's July 1st, so we have to look at how things have been in the markets for the past half year. Everybody's just reviewing things. So if you look at how global markets were impacted over the last 6 months, I mean, it's essentially the tariffs that were the biggest issues with respect to volatility, OPEC unwinding their cuts, Israel versus Iran, and then DeepSeek. Let's not forget that DeepSeek hit AI stocks for a while, but the AI trade for a while, but then they recovered. If you look at some of the notable returns over the last 6 months of 2025, there are some assets there that have performed, a bit okay versus others that haven't done so well. So I think I will hopefully get the chart up in a second, but off the top of my head, the Kospi is up about 29% year to date. The DAX and the Kospi, of course, Yuk Sul-Yun being impeached. Korean markets fell, they rebounded. The DAX in Germany is the defense trade with Germany, Christoph Merz coming in, saying that he's going to spend, I think it's about 500 billion or so. So defense stocks rallied in Germany. The US dollar down about 10%, Bitcoin, there it is, there we go. So Kospi up 28.9, DAX 20%, gold 25.5, the NGX in Nigeria 16.5, Bitcoin up 13%. Look at the US dollar, down 10%, lowest level since 1973-74. Brent crude down 10.59%. Sticking with oil, I think that's pretty much it's energy that we're all talking about today. It's funny, I mentioned this yesterday. NNPC has been started releasing monthly reports under the new GCEO, so Jalade. So this was April. I already went through these numbers for April. So 5.89 trillion, profit of 748 billion, average oil production 1.61, gas production 7.4 million standard cubic feet. They just released May last night, and so revenue now 6 trillion, profit 1 trillion, oil production not much change, 1.62, gas is 7.35 million standard cubic feet. I kept playing around with the numbers for those missing funds. I didn't get to add this to my report, but just take a look at this, 210 trillion, right? Nigeria's nominal GDP for 2024 was 269. So these missing funds are essentially 78% of the entire output of Nigeria. No, okay, fine. So you say stop it, Rotus. Rotus, you are lumping average it over 6 years, between the 2017 and the 2023, that the Committee on Public Accounts, and you compare it to the budget, you get 35 trillion. That's 210 divided by 6, right? 35 trillion. Look at Nigeria's budget in 2017. It was 7.4 trillion. So the committee would have us believe that the missing funds are 6 times the amount of the budget of the entire country. You can look at it over the 6 years if you want to play around with those numbers. The New York Times has an article that I encourage everyone to read about how China is pulling away from the rest of the world with respect to renewable energy. There's a race to power the future. China is pulling away. And there's a diverging strategy between China and the US. Trump is drill, baby, drill. He wants more oil and gas. China is moving towards renewables. Some really cool charts there. Just run through them very quickly. They essentially should look at exports of clean energy. China, 65 billion in lithium-ion batteries, 26 billion to Europe, 21 billion to Asia, 17 billion to the Americas. Look at the US, only about 3 billion. That's that. Looking at solar panels, China is far away the leader. 40 billion there, 20 billion to Europe, 11 billion to Asia, and then the rest. Look at the United States, just 69 million. That's just under 70 million. Electric cars, we already know the story. 38 billion, and the chart moves to the right, so it shows you where the exports and sales are essentially going. Some of that money is coming here. I mentioned a Chinese company that has a subsidiary that's doing electric vehicle ride hailing in Lagos. They have charging stations on the island. That's right. They're looking to move over to the mainland, and that's some of that money is coming here. Also, while we were in Abuja at the Transcorp Event Center for the Afro-Exim Bank annual meetings, we spoke with this company that is an Indian company. They are assembling electric motorcycles. Spiro, you're on your game. And they have an assembly plant in Shagamu. So we are seeing this, although they're not Chinese, but you're still seeing Nigerian movie. I have it on good authority that there are Chinese investors looking to build a battery plant in the southwest. And also we ran into some investors from Nasarawa, the state government, that are looking to bring investors into Nasarawa to build an EV battery plant there. So it's encouraging to see Nigeria trying to keep up there. I think finally, Elon Musk, he threatened some Congress members. You know, the big beautiful bill is making its way through the Senate. He says every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending and then immediately voted for the biggest debt increase in history should hang their head in shame. And they will lose their primary next year if it is the last thing I do on this earth. So that is, he wants to bring his money. Trump responded on Truth Social, and he essentially says that Elon Musk knew long before he was so strongly endorsed me for president that I was strongly against the EV mandate. It's ridiculous and was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history, by far. And without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country will save a fortune. Perhaps we should have Doge take a hard look at this. Big money to be saved. Tesla stocks are actually down in aftermarket trading on that. And finally, if you want to get your loved one a fragrance, amid the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza, trade tariffs, Trump managed to hawk some.
American president selling perfume.
He's selling perfume. So please buy some. Buy some. He's ever the capitalist.
It's selling love.
That's our update for today.
That's what American presidency has been reduced to: hawking perfume.
And coins. He has crypto coins as well.
Real quickly. And while he's doing all of this, he's destroying the prospects of America. You can see the dollar is down.
10%.
10%. And you say it dates back to the 70s. Let me shock you about the 70s.
Yeah.
The 70s is the time, 71 precisely, America got off the gold system.
That's right.
So you can see, and the 70s was a real economic, downtime for America as regards. They got off the gold system. You remember that was when they even had to print higher dollar bills to be able to buffer inflationary pressures and all of that. That's where Trump is taking them back to as we speak. But hey, what does he do? He's written to
Japan.
No,
not
Japan.
He's shouting at everybody.
He wrote to Jerome.
Yeah, Powell.
Goodness me, when you shared it on the group, I thought it was fake news. I swear to God, I thought it was fake news. I didn't want to touch it. Until I now saw it on television, traditional media. I said, really? A president writing to lower rates doesn't even understand that they are, no, not the independence, the interdependence, because there are federal banks of New York and every part of America that also have an input, and this is data driven. Right. So it's as long as it suits him and long as it suits his friends. I'm happy the fight between him and Elon has continued. Why? Because when Elon too supported him because of these tax breaks for the rich, that Elon is also going to benefit from, because Elon is also very hypocritical in this. There was no problem there. Now Elon is trying to feel like he's an advocate of the people. Nothing is going to happen. His money is not going to be able to sway anything. You should go and sit down. Elon is government baby.
course.
Obama gave him money.
Yep.
Everybody gave, anyway, he paid back the loan with interest. He's benefited from government so much. So you should go and sit down.
Big theater coming up.
Government
US
building.
politics.
I saw the response, they said he should just go back to South Africa. South Africa said, no, we don't want him. On a lighter note. But, this is the fallout that people are concerned about when we mix governance with business. Whether it be in the United States, in Nigeria, in Kenya, in Zimbabwe, this is what becomes a challenge. We're happy because, you start to expose a few of the things so that we can know where the truth lies and where the lines of being ethical are being crossed with regards to people who, especially those who support presidential campaigns and the kickbacks that they expect in return for funding these campaigns and the sway and influence that they hope to have in these governments. But even removing the financial aspect of it, I read a very intriguing article on Business Day, I think it was yesterday, where the journalist was comparing the fallout between Donald Trump and Elon Musk to what happened between President Tinubu and Nasser El-Rufai. This bromance, and then you see it just break down and become so toxic in the public space as well. So I think it's also just the nature of human beings and how we interact. I know you just forgot something very quickly. On the perfumes,
yes, the perfumes.
He doesn't manufacture, distribute. He doesn't own the fragrance. Let's just put it out there. So somebody,
No, she's guessing at the imports. Are you just the manufacturing you're getting at?
Sorry?
Are you guessing at the manufacturing part?
No, she's trying to defend him.
No, I'm not trying to defend him.
Also comes
I'm just
to him.
trying to. We don't have much time. I'm just trying to correct the misconception that Donald Trump is in the business of selling perfumes. He's not.
He is, right?
It's a branded license, and he's not involved.
Is the brand license for free? Is he not going to collect money?
Sorry, one more energy. Sorry, I forgot.
Is it for free?
Just real quick, sorry, Doctor, apologies. Dangote refinery has announced another cut in fuel to 840 naira per litre. So I think effective end of this month or effective this month. So 840. So oil, just have to put it.
Tesla Energy Division sells solar panels. One of the major issues in that bill, this big, beautiful bill, massive spending bill, is that there will be no more subsidies on solar and wind, product services from about 2027. So he has a personal interest in this matter. He's defending his business.
Oh, yes.
However, he has threatened that, in the next elections, he will deal with any senator that votes, particularly also in the House of Reps, those that belong to what he calls the Freedom Caucus. Because there are amendments going on. If the amendment is done, it goes back to the House of Reps before it gets to Elon Musk. So it's all about business for him. And he says U.S. has one party, the Porky Pig Party, whatever that is. Now, the other issue is between U.S. and Canada. Canada has now walked back, to have trade negotiations with the U.S. by cancelling its digital services, taxation that was supposed to take effect yesterday and will have affected Google and Amazon. However, you talked about half year. Yes, elections in Germany, Australia, war in Israel and between Israel and Iran, war in between India and Pakistan. You left out the biggest thing. Trump. He came in the last 6 months. He came back for a second time. And one of the things that we're dealing now is about tariffs. Now, he gave a 90-day reprieve. That 90-day reprieve is going to end next week.
Yes, sir.
Scott Bessent is already saying, well, those who want to negotiate will negotiate with us. If they don't negotiate, we go back to the April 2 level. And in Asia Pacific market, as of this morning, they're mixed. There's holiday in Hong Kong, but as you said, the market has done fairly well, particularly S&P 500 and NASDAQ Composite that have seen all-time highs this year.
Indeed.
All right. Thank you so much, Rotas. I believe we're going to take a short report now as African Bank is playing a pivotal role in advancing continental trade integration as it hosted a high-level business roadshow in preparation for the Intra-African Trade Fair 2025 scheduled to take place in Algiers this September. The roadshow, which took place in Lagos on Monday, was held in partnership with the African Union Commission and the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area to strengthen trade ties across the continent. Arise news correspondent Omotola Jalade Ekeinde has details.
At the forefront of Africa's economic integration efforts, Afreximbank is setting the tone for the Intra-African Trade Fair 2025. The Lagos Roadshow was part of a broader effort to promote IATF 2025, where Afreximbank expects over $44 billion in trade deals. Nigeria's Trade Minister, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, highlighted a 13% increase in intra-African export in 2024 and called for more digital and logistical coordination to sustain the growth.
Today, Africa is trading more within itself. Intra-African trade exports grew by over 13% last year, supported by new trade corridors and the initial success of the AfCFTA guided trade initiative. Nigerian businesses are already active participants exporting ceramics, garments, pharmaceuticals, and agro-products across the continent. In West Africa, Nigeria emerged as the region's largest intra-African trading country, as trade with the rest of Africa expanded to reach approximately $18.4 billion in 2024, up from just $8.1 billion in 2023. At the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment and its agency, NEPC, represented right there by the woman of the moment in charge of
business to government engagement, unlocking financing, and creating new market access and market linkages across the continent. The theme for this year's trade fair, harnessing regional and continental value chains, accelerating Africa's industrialization and global competitiveness under the AfCFTA, is timely and fitting.
Afreximbank's Executive Vice President emphasized the importance of scaling up trade deals, supporting innovation, and unlocking new markets, especially for women and youth-led enterprises.
This will be the fourth edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair. We are building on the successes of the previous editions, the previous three editions. For instance, this time around, we're expecting about 2,000 exhibitors. We're expecting to close deals of about $44 billion from about 130 countries. We're expecting 35,000 participants, and delegates into the IATF. We're expecting that the whole essence of the trade fair, beyond the statistics and numbers I'm just mentioning, is that we're trying to drive and break down the barrier of lack of access to trade and market information. That's the essence, which is one of those issues inhibiting the growth of intra-African trade that has stagnated it at around, stubbornly so, at around 15%.
The roadshow also spotlighted the creative economy, with the Director General of Center for Black and African Arts and Civilization, CBAC, advocating for greater inclusion of arts and culture in trade frameworks to promote African identity and create jobs.
The beauty of having intra-African trade is that we're able to utilize what we have within the creative and cultural sector to create direct and indirect jobs, obviously entertainment, obviously keeping people interconnected by understanding themselves via these avenues of trade. So having fair that allows us to connect with each other, to be able to trade within one another, it supports mutual understanding, it supports mutual respect, and we also get to learn from each other, take over the world basically.
With trade and investment deals projected to surpass $44 billion, IATF 2025 is poised to be a transformative movement for African enterprise. Nigeria's proactive engagement at the Lagos Roadshow signaled a bold move towards deeper continental influence and economic leadership.
Members of the IATF team joined the feature.
Omobolanle Adeshui, Arise News, Lagos.
We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll be talking to Honorable Cletus Omo, former lawmaker and member of the All Progressives Congress. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Across the world.
ahead of the convention of the party.
Well, let me say that Dr. Ganduje's resignation, His Excellency Ganduje's resignation, he has given personal reasons of health. The issue of speculation and what is being speculated, of course, this is a political season and it's a political move. And it will be very unusual if any political action is taken and there are no interpretations or imputations made to it. So it is a very usual and normal thing to have happened. But essentially for those of us within the circles of the party who know how the party chairman emerged in August of 2023, barely 2 months after the swearing in of the present president, we will understand that Ganduje was a reluctant chairman. Reluctant because he was not and did not vie for that position. But the party felt after the election that we needed a stabilizing rod and a force that was going to be respected by all shades and tendencies within the party. Of course, you will agree that there is no political party without tendencies. What you call factions is an exaggeration or sometimes an exacerbation or escalation of tendencies. That is the common interest. For instance, if you know how APC came about, from the CPC to the ACN, which was a major player and a central player, to the new PDP and all that, those are tendencies that agreed and aggregated their interest to form APC. So those interests were playing out, and once the elections were done, the president, who himself had been an organizer of political parties and movements, understood that we needed somebody who was less contentious, because you agree that in the build-up to the primaries of APC, there were a lot of disagreements, there were a lot of actions and inactions, especially by the Adamu chairmanship, and that created a lot of tension within the party. So in order for us to take off on a good ground, the party agreed that he had to go, and that was how Adamu went. So Ganduje coming in was to stabilize, and you could see that there was less rancor, and having stabilized the party, and we are moving into the next phase, because the tenure of the present administration, the present party executive is about to end. He didn't want to be pushed into the temptation of saying you have to continue because you have done so well, because everybody will agree that there has been relative stability and peace within the party under the Ganduje leadership. So he didn't want to be part of the fray, and more than that, the organization and everything, of course, he owns his health, and every one of us can be sick anytime. So if he says he's not feeling fine, great. But I was so sure, and I'm so sure, that even if he stayed back, nothing would have made me him to recontest.
5 mouths to feed. Sister, you know Papa drinks a lot. He's also into pool betting. He has almost drank Victoria's palm wine bar down.
So Papa closed that beautiful big shop I opened for him, eh?
No, why won't
he closed it?
When he has 1,001 mouths to feed. Susan and Nora also give letters for you.
Hey, Jerry, let me read.
No, Nora just passed her jam. And she's entering university this year.
Hey, that's my girl. I knew that girl had the Midas touch. She's just like me. She's just like me. I think that one. She's like me. She's like me. Let me read my girl's letter.
Sister, me too. I need some money.
Don't worry, Collins. I know that every time.
What
is that? I will settle you, Collins. Wait. Hey, my girl has entered university.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed the meal.
Yes.
Did you know that used to be Mama's favorite soup?
Yeah.
You wouldn't remember now. Because I'm quite comfortable here. And this place is quite big. You know, the landlord here is very nice, so I'm quite comfortable. But that reminds me, where did you say you're going to be posted for your youth service?
They've not posted also. But anyway, they post me, I'll go.
Collins, you lie. You lie. You're going to do your youth service here in Lagos. If you go out of Lagos, who's going to be taking care of you?
Hey, we've talked about this several times now, eh? I'm a larger boy now.
Larger boy, my foot. So that you can get wild on me, Abby. Now. You're going to be right here in Lagos.
Sister, you just have to accept the fact that we're no longer kids. Eh? Okay, look. Soon I'll graduate. Susan is in her second year. About to enter her third year. Laura is just got admission to the university. Sister, just accept the fact that we're no longer kids.
You are still my kids. Collins, you'll still be kids to me as long as I'm alive. That just stresses the point that I really need to get an apartment. You'll soon be finishing your youth service, I will be living in a bigger apartment. Hi.
How are you?
Fine.
You're not ready? Oh, come on, Gift. Don't tell me you forgot. We're supposed to go and see the premiere of the new film coming soon.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Look, my younger brother just came in this morning. We have to catch up on home matters.
Oh, this is one of those children you always talk about?
Yes. His name is...
Collins.
Yeah.
I thought you were still a very little boy the way your sister talked about you.
Collins, I need his excuses. Just give us a minute.
He's such a big boy.
Richard, what was all that about again?
It's another bad time, isn't it?
Were you trying to embarrass me in front of my kid?
Of course not. I'm sorry. Are we still... No, don't tell me I know. Good night.
Are you okay?
Oh, yes, I'm fine.
Who is he?
Okay, that's my fiance.
It looks nice to me. I'm happy for you.
Thank you very much. Can we talk about something more important? How much exactly did Papa say?
Your having a relationship is as much important.
That's not correct. You know, you and I are not going to be talking about this kind of issue. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But you know what? You know, Mama did this morning, put it in her hand, you'll give it to her herself. Don't give it to Papa, or you know Papa will add it to his own if he eats the money. No, you know now. Then you tell Susan and Laura that I said they should not be angry with me. That as soon as I settle down properly, that I will send for them. Then Collins, you too. This one I are going to school. Don't go and join gangs. Don't go and join gangs. You know what I'm talking about. Whether it's what do people call it, cultism. Don't go and join. Collins, not that you're laughing like this.
No.
This one that you start wearing cap now, black cap like Papa. Don't go and start drinking, Collins.
Sister, I'm not like that.
What do you mean I don't like that? So, what do you want? When all these babes start praising people now, you start feeling like King Kong. Collins, come on. Take care of yourself. And make sure you write me up. We're expecting your letters. Yeah, let me see you to the park. Make sure you write me.
I said you will not leave this out. You must leave this out. Look at your useless mother. Your dead mother you're talking to. My mother. Yeah, your dead mother.
For a second term. So going at this time was to give the party enough time to take the leadership position to where and who ought to be there at this point. So I think it is good enough, and that he has played a statesmanly role for having done this. It shows that he's a man of peace, he's a man of stability, and the rest of the.
Okay, Honorable. Honorable Ogun.
I will kill myself.
You've made the point of second tenures, and of course there's an elephant in the room where that's concerned. Where does this leave Vice President Kashim Shettima? Because of course the official position for now is that you have said that the party has said that once the president is re-elected at the Congress to be given the ticket, that at that point he will choose a vice president. Of course, we know from the president's track record that he is open-minded to shuffling his deputies. But with these dynamics, especially like you say, the return of the chairmanship to the North Central, which corrects an anomaly, where does that leave the vice president?
Before tomorrow, you are smiling now.
Again, we are dealing within the realm, we are operating within the realm of speculation and rumor from the usual political spin doctors. But let me say that at no time has the party agreed, nor the president insinuated that he's about to change his vice. In any case, the vice presidential position and the chairmanship of the party naturally falls within the north, given the zoning and convention of our party and of our national politics. The president coming from the south, vice president must come from the north, and the chairmanship also must come from the north. If you check our history, that's what it has been even during the tenure of Buhari since 2015. So nothing is going to change. So that in that way, the vice presidential position is not under threat.
You're saying that because you're speaking sort of vaguely and referring to the north. I referred specifically to the North Central and the Northwest. What will happen to those positions? Because the anomaly that happened that you just explained meant that the North Central didn't get to fulfill its mandate as national, in the office of national chairman. So are you saying that it will be okay that the APC and the nation at large will be comfortable with having both a national chairman and a VP from the same geopolitical zone?
Look, if I want to die, that's why I want to die.
No, please. The deputy chairman is acting to midwife. He's a midwife. He's midwifing the next executive. In fact, in the next meeting, a chairman will be nominated to fill that position. So what he's doing is only obeying the party's constitution. But let me also give Nigerians this, which is because of our nascent democracy, we are trying to steamroll a tradition. The purpose of political positions, especially party positions, is to bring party presence to a particular region, so that when there are decisions to be taken about the party, that area, that is why we have even state constituencies, federal constituencies, senatorial districts. That's why we have ministers representing each state and all that. In terms of party structure and administration, it is intended that at all times, the regions and the structures of the party should be such that a decision taken by the party should permeate all strata of the party to the ward level today. In fact, this is the first political party in our history that has a polling unit executive. This is the first party to do that. Now, the intentment is that there should be decisions taken. And that is why, for example, you find the issue of vice chairmanship going to the 6 geopolitical zones. The position of chairman, vice chairman are to the 6, but a deputy chairman must come from the same zone, north or south, as the chairman. The intention is that when the chairman is not there, that region that produces the chairman should still retain the chairmanship, whichever part of that zone that collects it. For example, now you have the deputy chairman from Northeast because the chairman was from Northwest. It could have been North Central. The deputy will again come from either Northeast or Northwest. So also it is that now that the deputy is still maintaining the North, he will midwife the production of another Northern chairman. Even in the next election, as long as the presidency remains in the South, the North must produce that. The vice president must also come from the North. Which part of the North, Northeast, Northwest, or North Central, is immaterial to the party. What matters is to balance it. At no time will you find the vice president and the national chairman come from the same zone. They cannot, and that won't happen.
With due respect. Okay, finish your point before I ask my question, Honorable Cletus. Finish your point before I ask my question, Honorable Cletus.
What a trouble would I be laying for my younger ones?
Yes.
It's okay to
So the
sleep out
point
before
I'm
marriage.
making is that it is deliberate, it is conventional, it is also constitutional, especially for APC that I know, which stems from majorly, most of the constitution comes from the ACN constitution and part of the CPC constitution, that you must put positions in a manner that will be inclusive of all interest groups within the polity and within the party. So if you, for example, you take 3 positions as we have presently in the South-South, you have the vice chairmanship position in Rivers Bayelsa. You have the publicity secretary in Edo Delta. Akwa Ibom Cross River ought to produce the woman leader. That it has gone to both Edo Delta to produce the 2 means that presently Cross River Akwa Ibom does not have anybody in the National Working Committee. That is the kind of imbalance we are talking about. So as we produce the next chairman, the deputy remains in the Northeast with the vice president. But the North Central and Northwest are now left to produce the national chairman. That leaves that place open. So whoever fits that bill will definitely go in there. That is the position.
Okay, thank you so much, Honorable Cletus, but I'd like to disagree with you, and I put it to you that where the vice president comes from matters in the North. The agitation has always been that even this current vice president, there was no big voting pool from the Northeast as against the Northwest. And that's the argument. And that's why a lot of people are saying that these vice presidents should tilt, if they're going to get a new one, should tilt towards the Northwest. And these are the arguments that people are having. Secondly, a lot of people also posit the argument that historically, President Tinubu does not finish his tenure when he was governor with the same vice president. And that's the argument they are putting forward. Another point I'd like to put forward, that they also put forward, is the fact that all of this, him leaving the party, some are saying the APC is putting a front that is, based on political calculation. But they're also saying maybe this is also going to pave the way for some big wig entrants from Kano that will come into the party that we know that are congenital of some sort, enemies or perennial enemies with Ganduje. What will you say to all of these things I've posited?
I will start with your last question. And don't put things, when you put things and put us, make the guest look as if it's on trial. When you say I put it to you, you're putting us on trial. We are here to have a discussion.
No, with due respect, Honorable Cletus, let me clarify.
Yes, please.
I put it to you. I put it to you.
Not always.
No, wait a minute. Let me clarify this and let me set straight the ignorance.
Am I on trial?
No, you're not on trial. Let me set straight the ignorance that I've seen in society. I put it to you is a word that put forward a position that elicits a response for the other person. It doesn't mean that you're on trial. So I see a lot of ignorance as it agrees the word I put it to you. It's just a normal word that articulates a point towards somebody. Because lawyers use it does not mean that it's a word on trial. So please, I'm just correcting the ignorance, the pervasive ignorance I see as regards that. So I put it to you, I'm putting my arguments to you as regards that.
Please.
That's just what I'm saying.
Let me take you this. Let me inform you about this. Language at all times is a function of society. It is not in isolation. Contextuality defines language. And each word in English language is defined by context. Yes does not mean yes at all times. It can mean no, contextually. But having said that, let's not turn this into a stylistic and linguistic context. Let me take the point about the issue of the Northwest and the issue of the tradition of changing vice or deputies as in the case of the president. Most of people who don't understand the historical antecedent, the history of Ganduje, because I know you are referring to Ganduje and Kwankwa, so big wigs coming in and all that. I don't deal like that. What I do is to, as much as possible, pin the case. In the Northwest, the pool of votes from Kano, most of the time when you look at the Nigerian political calculation and permutation, it's about Kano and Lagos, which come with 5-6 million votes. If you look at the last elections, none of them have brought 4 million votes. Out of the 5-6 they have on their voters register. None of them have produced 4 million at a step. So, first of all, it is on the speculation and expectation that will produce the number of votes. Secondly, the big wigs that are coming or going out are not perennial or habitual or permanent enemies. On the contrary, especially in Kano, those have been long-time allies. There are differences in political party and permutation and convenience at any particular moment does not make them habitual or permanent enemies. Therefore, what we are looking at as a political party, we are not into a chemistry class where atoms have to rotate and then galvanize and come as organic molecules. That is not where we are. We are dealing with human entities that at any time are subject to. Now, in the case of people coming in, every political party aspires to have a large number of persons because number defines politics, especially in a democracy. Number is the magic. Therefore, if people are coming to the party, rather than take others out, it should rather be. It is irresponsible. It's an irresponsible husband that discards the old wife simply because he's about to marry a new wife. So also it is that in the case of the vice president, the present vice president, like you said, there was no anomaly in taking to the Northwest. Like I said, the intentment of political positions is to galvanize support in an area. Because the political person asks you, you are asking me to come and support you. What is there for my own people? What is there for me? First, what is there for my people? Now, in the Northeast, you already have a Senate president sitting, a deputy Senate president sitting there.
Is this what we're wearing?
A deputy Senate president sitting there, vice president sitting in the Northwest. So naturally, we expected that. And the Northwest is also keeping the speaker. So you have political presence for APC in the Northwest. They are not in any way lacking. In the North Central, you have the SGF sitting there. That is a key position in government. So if you look at the hierarchy, none of them is suffering any deformity. So what we are now is about where will we get our result? How do we get the result of the political permutation and calculations we are doing? That's very important and clinical for us. So I think that clearly what the political calculation should be for us is not about the change of vice president. That vice president is sitting well and sitting pretty.
On that note,
it's a matter of time.
On that note, Honorable Cletus Sobon, thank you very much for joining us on the morning show. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll be talking to our next guest, Alhaji Abubakar Baraje. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Was supposed to take certain decisions and recommend actually to make. That has not happened. The only thing that happened yesterday was Samuel Anyanwu being named the National Secretary of the party. And the Southeast Caucus had said he's not their candidate. That their candidate is Sunday Okoye. Sunday Ude Okoye. So what's your reading of this implosion within the PDP? Looks like a repeat of 2014-2013.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bertie. To ask what is happening in PDP, well, I think the answers are very obvious, because they are answers. Obvious in the sense that it's all the things that have been happening are not hidden to the public.
Your boyfriend, he should have stayed back for
many of these activities that the PDP has been that had got involved in are as a result of the internal challenges that we have. So to say that PDP have internal challenges is no news. That's what I mean. And when a group has challenges, you attempt to provide answers to such challenges in your own way. What the PDP is known for is actually the internal cohesion and internal, ability or capacity to solve its own problem. And in the past, when this, trouble started, when the challenges started, I have spoken to you, spoken to the media. Many of our leaders have spoken to the media, and we are still speaking to the media, that do not worry. I have challenges. We know how to go about it. We shall provide answers. So what you saw yesterday was the peak of the resolve of the leaders, of the resolve of the elders, was this resolve of all members to put all that happens behind us and come and operate as a party and come and provide, positive leadership, good governance for the people of Nigeria who have been yearning for the PDP to come back. That's exactly what you saw happen. The meeting of the governors, the meeting of the NWC members, the meeting of the BOT and other organs of the party, even non-formal organs that have been meeting, came together yesterday and resolved that our problems are over, and we have all decided to work for the progress of the party in the interest of providing good governance for the entire people of Nigeria. Yes, there were disagreements, but in party politicking, the spirit of give and take is deeper in PDP than in any group. I made bold to say that, and that is exactly what we have seen yesterday. It's a continuous process. What we had yesterday was a confirmation of a NEC meeting that the return of distinguished Senator Sam Ayamu to his office as the National Secretary is hereby agreed by everyone of the party on every organ of the party without leaving anybody behind. So we know some people have, some observations and complaints here and there, but to keep the party as one, and for the sake of providing alternative, a very positive alternative for Nigerians, everybody decided to keep their own, grievances and provide solution by cooperating with the party. We shall continue to ensure that this party, which is the most formidable opposition party in the country, continue to exist, because Nigeria cannot afford a one-party state.
Okay,
not now and never in the country. That's what happened.
Okay. Well, some critics are saying that all of this looks purely cosmetic in its nature. The PDP has developed a brand of being a party that hosts political tourists. These are people who hold PDP passports, but they regularly obtain visas to visit other parties and work for other agendas. And the PDP has failed to address this issue through disciplinary actions. Now, do you think that the PDP will genuinely be able to move forward without necessary disciplinary actions being taken over the numerous counts of anti-party activities that we've seen? Or is it an exercise in futility? Party discipline. Are we just going to let everything wash away and declare that it's a new day? Or have all sins been forgiven?
You see, the issue of party discipline is, or any other act of behavior by members, is purely internal to any group or to the political party. Yes, we have constitutions which laid out what we may refer to as indiscipline or anti-party. But the way we tackle it is another, thing entirely. If a party tackles owned by watching its own linen in public, fine. We have our other ways of carrying out our own disciplinary actions. the people might be visualizing some people or some actions by some members as anti-party. If our constitution recognizes such, definitely action shall be taken at the right time and within the context of such behavior. But this, just like I said earlier, in one of the chats with Rice Television, our elders have a saying that when trees falls upon each other, you lift the ones on top first. You don't start lifting the ones at the bottom. What people see as problem now, you cannot solve such problem in a divided house. The house has to be one. And now we are coming to be one. Our pleading to the media particularly is to see us as making very positive effort to galvanize an alternative for Nigerians to be able to choose. And let's solve our own problem in our own way. We know we have other challenges, and like I said earlier, and what we had yesterday was far from window dressing. It was genuine. And apart from being genuine, our efforts are still on. We are not just closing the door like that. We know with people who have actually demonstrated the spirit of give and take need to be reassured, and reassurances, activity, and actions are still ongoing by the leaders and elders. Okay. So what we just seek is the cooperation of every one of us, both members and Nigerians, to give the people this chance.
Okay, sir.
It's not a deceit.
Okay. Sir, with due respect, we don't trust the PDP. And because the PDP has given us a reason not to trust them. And I'd like to put it to you today that what we saw yesterday, a lot of people felt was deceitful. Not me. A coalition of Southeastern leaders among your four said the Southeast have no place in your party. The drama, police trying to separate two factions. You people might have placated all factions, but people do not trust that the PDP can have a viable opposition. They don't trust that the PDP can stand tall. Because among your folks and those that met yesterday are people like Sheyi Makinde. I mean, doesn't the PDP have any shame? That people like Sheyi Makinde that worked against your presidential candidate in the last election today still has a role in the so-called reconciliation of the problems people like Sheyi Makinde and Wike caused, and they are still among your folk. And you expect us to believe that you will met out discipline to those that are erring. And Bimbai was right. And that's why almost everybody has your, passport, but they have visas of other political party and they shop around. So like Ralph Waldo Emerson says, what you do speaks so loud, I cannot hear what you say. And that's the dilemma of the PDP today, sir. What you are doing is speaking so loud that people cannot hear what you say when you come here and say, we plead with the media, let us fix our problem. It's been over 2 years. It's been a rigmarole.
I'm just waiting for you to land.
I'm done, sir.
My dear Rufai.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. You see, all that you said is your own opinion. And if there are other people who hold that opinion, that's their opinion. Yes, perception is very key, very, very key about political party or any issue. But it is our belief that the few that believe us will further convince other people when our actions begin to materialize. You have mentioned some names now that you think have committed offenses against the party, or you have seen committed offenses against the party. The party is not closing its eyes, or the party is not, in a hurry to take actions on such behavior, if there are any. And attempts have been made in the recent past in order to give the public that confidence that we are watching. And such actions included the setting of committees, various committees, including a disciplinary committee. The committee is still there. And like I said just now, even if the party or the committee has made some recommendation to the party, we look at the recommendations with care.
I don't understand why she
We
should
look
take
at
responsibility of
whatever
taking
is happening
children.
within the party
Who
with
understands
care.
why?
We quite appreciate the concern of people like you for the party by the fear that you have on trust issues. But what we are saying is that unless you give us a chance, unless Nigerians give us a chance and try to see where our efforts are heading to, I mean, you don't build trust overnight. Alright? And by these actions, all we are trying to tell Nigerians is that we have started somewhere and we are heading somewhere positive.
Because of this same
So,
problem that she carries on her head. Eh?
Whether
I even heard the guy is even married.
it is those people that we mentioned or many other more people are involved in the watch list of the party, you don't know. Some of us, even who are leaders, who are actors, in the process of resolving these issues,
We all need to sit her down and talk to her.
have specific areas where we can operate and recommend to the party.
There's no need.
We do not want, we do not intrude into other areas that the party doesn't ask us to look into.
Right now, I am married.
The anxiety by Nigerians over the trust issue which you mentioned, we quite understand it. And we are working sleepless nights to ensure that we bring back the trust, we bring back the confidence that Nigerians have on PDP. To now write us off with the way you have spoken now, Mr. Rufai, I think that's the area where some of us are trying to be cautious. And we are still using very cautious languages.
We can't wait for PDP to prove Nigerians wrong and prove us wrong.
We
When you do it, we praise you.
Overnight. We cannot prove you wrong. We can't prove you wrong overnight. You have to wait. There's a time for action. There is a time for the action. This is not just 2 + 2 = 4. There are calculations which we must do. There are moves that we must make. There are incidents that must be addressed. There are situations that are on ground that warrants quick action. There are situations on ground that warrants us to be very careful and tread very carefully. It's not an overnight thing. It's not just getting out of the room and stepping into the sitting room and then you say your problem is solved.
Okay.
You see what you are trying to do. Like I said, we understand the concern of people and the concern of people like you. But you must, as we are trying to carry people along, people like you should understand these things cannot be, just tackled 1, 2, 3, 4 overnight.
Okay.
We still have a long way to go.
Yeah. I like your optimism. It's good to be optimistic. What's politics if it's not for people who are optimistic? But do you share the view of people who think that there are some very serious, determined fifth columnists inside the PDP who seem to be causing these problems? Briefly, fifth columnists.
It's normal.
Oh, okay.
It's normal. Okay. That's normal in politics, Dr. Abati. You have half a furrow into our midst. We actually, the fifth columnists are normal. If there are no fifth columnists in party politics, such political party will remain, repugnant, will remain stagnant, will remain inactive. But because we are conscious of such people,
Do you want her to be like you?
the people you may call even not only the fifth columnists, but black legs. They are people that actually spur the party to actions, to positive actions. When at the end of the day we recognize them by their actions, by whatever they do and whatever they say. We have a way of dealing with such people.
Okay. You're doing the right.
We don't just wake up in the night and say, "Oh, you are a black leg, get out of this party." We don't do that, particularly in PDP.
I have to go and pick my children.
We have a way of solving our own problem, and that's why we are pleading that those things that people are seeing, they are more of cosmetic nature to them, and it worries them. Yes, we understand. But those of us who are inside, who are the actors, you know, we know how to tackle this problem, and we are pleading with Nigerians to give us that chance.
On that note, pleading with Nigerians to be patient with the PDP. Well, let's see if they heed your call, and if you will be able to sustain the efforts of these black legs, as you have called them. Well, it's time for a short break now. When we return, Ebi Omom will be here with Global Sports Update. To stay with us.
Chelsea, PSG, Bayern, Fluminense, and Al Hilal. But later today, we'll have Madrid facing off against Juventus. But still in the Club World Cup, we have Chelsea coach Maresca lashing out after the 2-hour weather delay that disrupted his team's last 16 Club World Cup victory over Benfica. And he suggests that the United States are not a suitable country for the competition a year before it is due to host the Men's Club World Cup. But Chelsea beat Benfica 4-1 in extra time to qualify for the quarterfinals after a game that ended 4 hours and 39 minutes following a kickoff. And this was due to a 2-hour interruption due to a storm warning. Let's take a listen to Enzo Maresca.
I think for me personally, it's not football. It's already 7, 8, 9 games that they suspended here. I think it's a joke, to be honest. It's not football. It's not for us. You cannot be inside because you don't know what you have to say. It's completely, for me, it's completely something new, but I struggle to understand. I can understand that for security reason, you have to suspend the game, but if you suspend the 7, 8 games, that means that probably is not the right place to do this competition.
Do you love me? Of course I love you. No, you don't. You don't even love yourself. You don't care about yourself. You are asleep, Gift. You are in a deep sleep. You had better wake up before it's too late. Excuse me.
You are his problem. Hmm? What do you
Well,
want him to
we've heard from the coach of Chelsea, that's Maresca, talking there about the Club World Cup. And we'll move now to Nigeria, where the women's beach volleyball team qualified for the 2025 World Championship. Now, the pair of Esther Umba and Pamela Bowers secured the ticket after beating Egypt by 2-1 to finish in 3rd place at the just completed African Volley Confederation Continental Championship in Morocco. The 2025 World Beach Volleyball Championship will be held in Adelaide, Australia, and is scheduled to be held from November 14 to 23. Morocco won a gold medal in the women's event, while Mozambique took silver. And in the men's categories, Morocco teams won both gold and silver, while Mozambique secured bronze. And we're still talking about Nigerian stories where Nigeria's hopes of fielding a men and women's 4x100 meter relay team at the 2025 World Athletics Championships in Tokyo has suffered a major blow after the Netherlands moved ahead in qualification race with a record-breaking performance at the European Team Championships in Madrid. Now, both teams had previously held the same position, that's 15th place, with same times of 38.20 seconds. However, the Dutch men's quartet clutched a sensational 37.87 seconds, and with that, they set a new national championship record and European record, knocking out Nigeria down to 16th with the last spot of the provisional qualification bracket. Now, with only 16 teams qualifying for the relay event in Tokyo, Nigeria's men's team could be pushed further down the list should any of Brazil, Jamaica, or Trinidad and Tobago improve their times in the coming months. And in the women's 4x100 meters, the situation is even worse, with Nigeria ranking 17th on the current top list, with the best time of 42.70 seconds, trailing both Australia with 42.48 seconds and Ivory Coast with 42.63 seconds. And the final two countries occupying this position will be qualifying. But with the qualification window closing on August 24th, Nigeria has a slim margin to correct this course. And we go straight to transfer story, where there's been a lot of drama surrounding Victor Gyökeres in recent days as speculations over his future continues amidst links to Arsenal. A move for the 27-year-old now appears increasingly unlikely, as the president of the club says the pact made a year ago to sell the Swedish player for 60 million euros and 10 in add-ons will not be respected as he wants more. But Gyökeres wants the pact respected as he's now refusing to return to training. But we also have Victor Osimhen. Napoli has included him in their squad that will begin the preseason in mid-July, despite his imminent move away from the club. Now, Napoli's preseason is expected to begin from July 14th, and the Nigerian striker is expected to rejoin his parent club's teammates for the start of preparation for the new season, while his next destination is still unknown. Osimhen has already rejected a €40 million a year offer from Saudi Arabia clubs. And for some Nigerian players, they will look to leave their current clubs, with Kelechi Iheanacho, who moved to Sevilla last summer, but went on to loan to Middlesbrough, and I think falling out of favour with the manager. While Sadiq Umar had a good loan spell at Valencia, will return to Real Sociedad and await a possible transfer to Besiktas. Now, Chuba Akpom's situation is arguably the most confusing of the lot, because the Ajax striker, along with 6 others, have been exiled via WhatsApp and instructed not to show up at the club facilities until after testing training has finished. And finally, we go to tennis, where 2-time semi-finalist Dani Medvedev suffered a shock first-round exit at the tournament. Now, the Russian world number 9 lost 7-6, 3-6, 7-6, 6-2 to the 64th ranked Frenchman and took his frustration out on his racket after the conclusion of the match. It is the first time Medvedev has failed to reach the second round in 7 Wimbledon appearances. He was not the only men's top seed to exit, as Danish 8th seeder Garuna lost a 5-setter and Greece's Stefanos Tsitsipas retired injured. But for 2-time defending champion Carlos Alcaraz, he avoided a huge upset by coming through a marathon 5-set battle against Fognini, and a match that lasted more than 4.5 hours. Now, to the women, we have world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka celebrating her Wimbledon return with victory in first round, but 2-time runner-up, that's Ons Jabeur, who's been having it difficult, retired after struggling physically in London. Now, 3-time Grand Slam champion Sabalenka beat Canadian qualifier 6-1, 7-5, while Naomi Osaka got the job done in straight sets. And we also had Paolini and Keys both having to come from behind to triumph in their deciding set. But today we have Sina, Djokovic, who is gunning for a 25th Grand Slam title, Rybakina, Kokogov, all in action at the Wimbledon Day 2. But that's all from me on the water sports.
Very much, Yama. We seem to have run out of time. So we'll take a short break now. And when we return, Oji Oke will be here with details and the historic sites.
Parliament.
Want it all? Download this.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is Oji Oke with stories trending around the world. Hello, Junet.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you this morning? Good. Fantastic. Good morning, our favorite Nigerian. Please, you know you look like Naomi Campbell this morning.
Ooh, I take it. Let me say
one of the most beautiful women in the world. You are so beautiful this morning. How are you this morning?
With all that flattery, I'm great now this morning.
Correct. Very good. Rufy on fire. Very good. Share Wakpa or show Wakpa. There's somebody told me don't say show Wakpa to Dr. Abati again. It's share Wakpa. Is it correct?
Yeah. Because of all the persons.
I love learning Yoruba language. Well, how are you this morning? Fantastic.
Very well.
Well, all right. Good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending in St. Lucia, where Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Monday proposed visa waivers for holders of diplomatic and official passports from states, including full scholarships for OECS students to promote cultural understanding and strengthen bonds. Let's take a listen.
Beyond education, we must also encourage more frequent visits between our peoples, allowing them to experience firsthand the unique cultural attractions and the historic sites that define our identities. In a concrete step towards this goal, Nigeria is open to exploring a visa waiver arrangement for holders of diplomatic and official passports from OECS member states traveling to Nigeria. An African proverb teaches us, and I quote, "If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, go together." I will establish full scholarship tuition for students of OECS
See Ash.
All right, Vimbai, you know, we always encourage these sort of cultural exchange programs, bilateral relations, which we've seen, you know, the Tinubu administration, you know, cooperate with a lot of nations. But, you know, I have a story that I will take later on during the course of What's Trending, and it's the story about, you know, school teachers still on strike in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And so that's what got a lot of reactions from this actual offer from the president to the St. Lucians, saying that it's going to offer free scholarship with a sort of exchange program. Let me take this tweet from Oladele, who wrote, "You are in Abuja. School teachers in Abuja are on strike for months now. Which education are you talking about?" Well, Wale Sholabi wrote, "Oh, this is a good idea. The exchange is needed. We cannot do business if we do not have educational and cultural exchanges. The Caribbean students have a lot to gain from this program." Well, another ex-user wrote, "What about people in Nigeria here? Do we not need scholarships to study abroad? LOL. I mean, that's another question, Vimbai, for you.
So there's so many moving pieces to this, and earlier Dr. Batian Rufai had analyzed, and I think one of the salient takeaways from it is, what is the state of our education system, especially tertiary education? One of the biggest issues bedeviling the tertiary education system at the moment is the issue of power. You know, the increase in power tariffs mean that most of our universities at the moment are struggling to keep the lights on. The students are studying by candlelight. The conditions are just not conducive. So if this is the vehicle he's going to use to then invest into our tertiary education, then let it be. But some people would say, well, it seems like putting the cart before the horse. Maybe we should have, you know, modernized and ensured that our own education system was efficient first before bringing people in. As much as everybody is welcome, I will always testify to the fact that Nigeria is one of the most hospitable places on earth. Everybody is welcome. However, Nigerians are saying, what about us?
Yes.
We want to go to university too. Okay, fine. There's the Now Fund scheme, which allows people to get funding to be able to go to university, but the system itself, I have to give a commendation to this administration that we've seen less of the lecturer strikes, the ASU strikes and so forth under this particular administration. However, it doesn't mean that all is well within tertiary education. Very lastly, another of the initiatives that will be pushed, that was pushed during this trip in St. Lucia, is the extension of the Nigerian Technical Aid Corps. Now, this is an initiative that falls under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and its motto is Africa as a centerpiece. So every year the Ministry of Foreign Affairs under the TAC sends skilled workers to various countries around the world, specifically in the South, Africa and the Caribbean. So since its inception in 1987 under Head of State Ibrahim Babangida, we sent over 10,000 professionals around the world to Caribbean countries, African countries, to go and volunteer there for 2 years, and then the government covers their costs and so forth while they're there. So this is a program that they want to extend. So I think that's a good opportunity for professionals who want to get some experience and exposure to other African and Caribbean countries.
Yes, I do actually like that, and also the fact about the topic about the visa waivers. I mean, it is good to encourage such investors into our country at the moment. And let's speak about immigration as well. The United States government has reportedly initiated a denaturalization process which involves revoking the citizenship of naturalized Americans. According to a memo published on the website of the U.S. Department of Justice on June 11th, attorneys were directed to prioritize denaturalization proceedings against citizens who had illegally procured or procured naturalization by concealment of a material fact or by willful misrepresentation, and against naturalized citizens suspected, even if not convicted, of criminal or gang-related activities. The news has sparked concerns among civil rights advocates who argue that such efforts could undermine the principles of equal protection and the rule of law and potentially be misused to marginalize entire communities. In the meantime, a Nigerian hair vendor with a valid B1, B2 visa was denied entry into the United States after U.S. immigration officials reportedly checked her Instagram and private messages. The woman, Chinelo Ejiamu, shared a tearful video on social media explaining that she was detained for 24 hours upon arrival in Texas, where she intended to participate in a trade fair. Despite stating that her purpose was to attend business meetings, officials found discrepancies between her declared reason for travel and the content on her social media accounts, including messages from customers. Take a look.
You want to pin the pregnancy on me? I was detained for like 24 hours.
I really don't know what I want.
In the detention room. And when I was questioned, I told them that I was just only going to exhibit.
And it's definitely for you.
But I didn't know any better because the US has all your data, your Instagram page, every single thing. So apparently, my Instagram obviously says different because they even checked all my messages with my customers. You know, the customers have been telling that we're coming and they can pick up and, you know, all of that. This one hurt so bad.
I am sorry. You are
going so bad. I could have just told them the truth. Even if it means them seizing all my goods, like the goods I came with. But I've told myself this is not the time to start regretting. I have someone that will stand in for me, support me as much as you can.
All right, a lot of lessons here with the U.S. immigration at this moment. I mean, you know, the B1, B2 visa allows you to attend business meetings, primarily a visitor's visa. But I mean, this young woman was actually going to a trade fair. So she was going to do some transactions and that would require a different sort of a visa. But you know, we're seeing this crackdown by the Trump administration on immigration. The other story that I read about denaturalizing citizens because of certain crimes. You can hear, okay, this is a flyer to prove that this woman was going for a trade fair. Dr. Bati, go ahead.
There is, you know, an island mentality that is abroad under President Trump's watch in the United States. If you like, you say provincialism. If you like, you say isolationism. American for Americans alone, if possible. And we have made the point that it is ironic that a president who is himself a son, a descendant of immigrants, if anybody was in doubt, the German chancellor brought the birth certificate of his own you know, grandfather to just say cynically that, look, you are even also an immigrant here. But, however, we have had issues with students, foreign students, studying in either Harvard or Columbia. We have had persons who have been accused of anti-Semitism, who have been deported. We have had persons sent to Venezuela and sent to Ecuador, you know, driven out of the United States because of this growing culture of intolerance. Now, we have also had the decision taken by the Trump administration about citizenship by birth, natural citizenship by birth, which went all the way to the Supreme Court, although the Supreme Court did not rule on the constitutionality of it. And then, of course, you have ICE, you know, all over the place, arresting people and all of that. Now, you also have third country deportation. We have discussed that here. You know, if they arrest you, you can be sent to South Sudan, which is a war zone, as the ICE authorities please. So we need to see this in the context of this, you know, of this behavior within the United States. However, with regard to denaturalization, the whole argument is that if you conduct yourself in a manner that breaches national security of the United States, sexual offenses, involvement in any kind of crime, drug trafficking, human trafficking, then what the Department of Justice is saying is that the attorneys reserve the right to initiate a process to withdraw that denaturalization. And I think they were quoting that in the enabling law, you know, if you do something criminal, you could be, you know, denaturalized. Second, to go to the ladies' matter, I think you already asked the question. These visas, they have categories, B1, B2. If you have a B1, B2 visa, you cannot use it for J1, J2 purposes, or you cannot use it in another category. I think you already answered the question. The only thing to add here is that people should know that a visa, you hold the visa at the pleasure of the host or receiving country. So the fact that you have been given visa in your home country does not mean that you can enter that country. You can be turned back at the port of entry. If it is determined that there's something untidy, there is even no argument about it. In fact, when you want to enter certain countries, they may give you visa for 2 years. The immigration officer at the port of entry may decide to give you 2 weeks and say after 2 weeks, please go. So, and it's a matter of discretion generally. But I guess that people can learn from this lady's ordeal story to just know that the visa regime in the receiving country is not an automatic.
Yes.
But we sympathize with her. But she then made arrangements for people to represent her at the trade fair. And this is about the enterprise, of the average Nigerian. She was going to America to sell what do they call it? Attachment.
No, it's extensions. It's not attachment.
Is it extension?
The attachment was the olden days way of describing it. It's called extension.
I once went to Rio de Janeiro, and I went to the supermarket. I said I want to buy Brazilian hair. They said, you want to buy Brazilian hair in Brazil? See the hair on our heads now. That's just on the light side.
Both straight, they have Brazilian hair, both straight, they have. There's both wavy and all of that. I forget their names these days.
Those ones get level.
Yeah.
The 2 million naira.
Yes, if you go on her Instagram page, she's a proper hair vendor. She has hair ranging from 2 million to 5 million and all whatnot. But I guess, like you said, yes, I know you know. Don't worry. you have class. But I think the real lesson here is that the Trump administration, with their immigration policy, they are really very strict at this point. ICE is not joking. You cannot go to the United States with a B1, B2 visa to attend, do transactions. So I'm sure that this young woman has learned at this moment. We'll head over to the Federal Capital Territory now, where workers under the Joint Union Action Committee on Monday staged a protest at the office of FCT Minister Nyesom Wike to voice their grievances regarding unpaid allowances, withheld wage awards for health workers, delayed overhead releases, and non-payment of hazard allowances. The protesters also expressed frustration over the 2-month strike by FCT primary school teachers who are protesting the non-implementation of the 70,000 naira new minimum wage by the area councils, which has led to the closure of over 400 schools and disrupted examinations.
Happening in the FCT, but the unit FCTA is suffering. No promotion, no training and retraining of staff, no constant salary. You collect 100,000 today, tomorrow you collect 80,000. No payment of our auxiliary staff for 7 months. No overhead, that is current money to run off the office since December last year till now. No training. Our children are at home because the area council's chairman have refused to pay the teachers, and all of them are under the minister of the FCT.
We are not fighting him, but we are asking him to listen to FCT staff because FCT staff are seriously suffering. We are suffering.
I mean, this was a valid protest. If we're saying over 400 schools have been closed at this point, look at the sort of conversation we're having. I mean, we must praise the FCT minister for some of the things that he has done, especially with infrastructure, but this is absurd. Only 2 weeks ago, we took the story of VDM wearing a school uniform, giving an ultimatum saying that these teachers haven't been paid. 70,000 naira. You heard their grievances right there. I know that the Trade Union Congress and other civil society organizations have supported this protest. The thoughts?
So that's what we're saying this morning. President Tinubu went to St. Lucia to give scholarship to students. But in his domot, like they say, wages have not been paid.
What's the problem?
FCT minister used 39 billion to renovate International Conference Center. But to pay the suffering Nigerians that never get anything out of this country, they never get the fair deal. They'll never be on top. Probably they'll be lucky one of their people will be in government at some point. But they will perpetually live a cycle of chasing this golden fleece. Pay them a minimal amount that will help them to be able to buy the basics of life.
Because last time I asked that,
it's so difficult. They have to protest.
This friend's house to this friend's house.
Schools are shut in the FCT.
It's unacceptable.
But we are going around and showing that we have money to give scholarship to St. Lucia. We are renovating International Conference Center. We are doing roads. Every day now you check the paper, one road being done or the other. What's the essence of road and infrastructure when the real structure, which is human beings, when the stomach infrastructure is not there and people are living in penury? It is a man that is alive that will drive on the road that has been built. But when a man is so hungry and the real people you need to cater to are not being catered to, these people are not coming to beg for money. They are coming to beg for their rights. They didn't go and meet President Tinubu. He was the one that announced it with his mouth. He will increase your fees. After he announced it, show workings is a problem.
That loved me.
Agreement is agreement. He don't receive for settlement. They are telling these people nonsense. But we are seeing the kind of things people are doing with money, especially government officials. Government officials go around in big jeeps. So
I lost them because of my income.
We would like to go ahead and call them to order. You know, people can talk about these salaries not being paid to government officials that is pervasive across board. There are some other people too also suffering it. You know, they can say all of these truths at all times. And even if we are in a good position, we receive salaries.
We do.
But the other people out there,
yes,
they can't receive anything.
No, but I mean, this is unfortunate.
It's so painful.
I mean, I guess the protest will continue.
Yes, it should continue.
See some people out, through the course of the week. Like I said, the Trade Union Congress, so civil society, they are out there. The FCT, our capital territory, we cannot be having this sort of conversation. 70,000 naira minimum should be constant. It's not something. It's non-negotiable. That is their rights. The teachers need to return to school, and workers want to be paid accordingly. Well, let's take this human angle story now. A farmer in Kebbi State rescued a baby girl who had been buried alive on his farm. The incident occurred as the farmer, Malam Kabiru Kamba, was tending to his crops when he noticed an unusual disturbance in the soil. Upon investigation, the farmer noticed an unusual ridge compared to the regular ridge in his farmland. He immediately alerted local authorities, who helped uncover the newborn baby girl who had been buried and left for dead. Let's take a look.
Ana kaji yana gama ga kuka jariri ne na ɗebo ɗaya ku rude shi waya kira wai Allah shi mana ruwa ya za a yi Allah shi mana ruwa wanga sane mai sanan ma an santa da ganin ta
ai na ga maka su ana bin dabdigin abu za a gano kowa ne
sabon haihuwa ta
ai ya ma dan yi kokari da ma bai irin
Allah ya isa Allah ya isa Allah ya isa Allah ya isa
Allah akbar
an bude an sa zane uku an lullube shi an sami an daddaure ci aka yi mutu
kawai ya mutu kawai an ɗaura wuya kawai ya mutu.
God bless Malam Kamba. I mean, this is a miracle baby. a miracle baby. The baby was immediately taken for medical attention and is said to be in stable condition. The farmer has taken baby into custody. I mean, has taken the baby for himself. I mean, he is taking care of the baby at this point until local authorities, find the identity of this woman who committed this heinous crime. Apparently, the baby was wrapped in 3 wrappers because, I mean, the intention was for her to die. The thoughts?
Gosh, this is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking in so many ways. But firstly, I just want to celebrate the resilience of this little life, this miraculous little life, miracle baby. And I hope that people can come together because babies in this economy are not, it's not for the faint-hearted. So I hope people can come together to raise some money for this baby and give him or her a real chance at life. However, now to the crime of, giving birth, you can see that's a freshly born, she still had a little bit of blood on his face, so straight out of the womb is my suspicion, and straight into the ground. Now, I want to say that this is a disgusting crime, but I also want to highlight what happens when some people go through postpartum depression. Because there's several stories around postpartum depression where you hear women who are at various stages of, whether just giving birth or even a week in, it can go on for as long as 1 year in some cases. And these women have an inclination to want to harm their child in extreme cases of postpartum depression. I'm not saying this is the case here. The woman may have been extremely poor. The woman, whatever the case may be, nothing excuses this. But for me, I think this is an important time for us to talk about the psychological journey that women go through during pregnancy and after giving birth that can make a lot of women run mad. Now, what more for a woman who's possibly in a desperate situation, poverty and so forth? This is wrong. She should be found. She should be jailed. However, it's now important for us to now focus on supporting women, pregnant women. It doesn't matter what level of society they're in, but pregnant women often don't get the level of support that they need, the psychological support that they need, especially once that child is born. I hope they find the woman. The woman should be arrested. It's a bittersweet story because I'm just so glad that beautiful baby is alive and well.
Well, despite the stress, the pressure cooker lifestyle that Nigerians go through, I think it's refreshing to see again and again that there are still certain persons in this community in whom the milk of human kindness still flows.
That's Farmer
the other day,
right there.
The other day you brought the story of a gentleman who returned about 4 million naira to a trader. This was a tricycle rider who returned money. Today now we have the example of Malam Kabiru Kamba, who found a lady on his farm and decided to approach the authorities, the local government authorities, to say he would rather keep the baby and bring her up. Now, incidentally, he has the support of his wife. His wife is a nursing mother, and he was saying that, look, with his wife's support, feeding the baby with baby milk and all that, would not be a problem. It is people like this that we recommend for national honors. Yes. And I hope that the relevant authorities will be collecting the names of these persons who still show that even when Nigeria happens, there are some people who are still very kind-hearted. They are the ones we should see on national honors list, not people just carrying Babariga or Agbada or Ishiagu up and down, and they cannot account for whatever they have contributed. However, I see your point about postpartum depression. Yes. Well, in most cases, some of these, there's also the challenge of teenage pregnancy. Yeah. There's also the challenge of poverty. Yes. You must have had those early days when we were doing adolescent sexuality, seminars. They used to talk about adolescent sexuality, and there were many girls who will have a baby. They will not let their parents know. Yeah. They don't want anybody to know because it's considered some kind of stigma, and they can just throw the baby away. But there is no justification for it. It is called man's inhumanity to man. Exactly. Even that day-old baby has a right to life, guaranteed under Nigerian laws.
And with due respect, please, I would like to beg men out there, if you put a woman in a family way, accept responsibility.
Yes, that's it.
Because that's another factor in all of this. A lot of men, you put a woman in a family way, and the next thing you say, it's not mine, and you walk away, and you leave the woman flat-footed. The woman should not bear the pain alone. If you put a woman, if you do the do, accept the baby that comes from doing the do.
Yes.
That's just it. Please, we beg.
Fantastic. Our commendation goes to, our commendation goes to the authorities and to Farmer Kamba, a really amazing human being right there. And we thank God for our miracle baby. We'll follow up on her story. Let's take our story under milestones now. Recognizing the Ige Mokwede Foundation for disbursing over 50 million naira to 111 civil servants who have demonstrated exceptional excellence, integrity, and innovation in public service delivery during the 2025 Civil Service Week Gala. The Ige Mokwede Foundation, founded by Igboje and Ofovwe Ige Mokwede, is dedicated to improving the lives of Africans through transformed public service delivery and
Me, I don't decide, say, now me will be the doctor for all the ashawo they waiting for this.
Anyway, as for me, I don't decide it very soon. I will graduate as lawyer for ashawo. You see all those police palava, nothing like I'm again. That is
What about the food stuff in the kitchen?
What about that? Please don't drag it. I just
you.